I don't think we've actually had a guest appearance by this particular person since the Shaq Fu video like months and months ago, and you'll probably notice him popping in and out like right there. My little buddy Gray for the past 5 minutes has not let me shoot this video without him here, so I guess he's just going to be here for the length of the video. And I guess rightfully so, because today we're going to be taking a look at, well, more of a brief look at the feud between the Satanic Temple as well as the Church of Satan. And in the interest of fairness, I'll take the side of the Church of Satan, while my buddy Gray here will take the side of the Satanic Temple, just so there's no biased opinions, I guess. If you thought religious infighting was exclusive to Judeo-Christian mythologies, you'd be wrong, because apparently being a Satanist, like all things, has its fair share of tribalistic social drama, and today we are going to look at the Temple of Satan versus the Church of Satan in a grudge/death match. It's Satan versus Satan as we take a look at the Satanic Temple as well as the Church of Satan and go over the brief feud between the two. Oh, and apparently neither group actually believe in like a physical Satan, so the more you know, I guess. Oh, okay, it wasn't that good of a joke. I'm sorry. Gray didn't like the joke. Now, I imagine there's probably a couple of you out there that are probably thinking like, wait, the Temple of Satan and the Church of Satan, is there actually a difference between the two? And yes, in fact there is, because their feud initially started back in, I think, 2013 or 2014. Before we go into more of an in-depth look at the differences between the two, I should probably give a little bit of background information when these different organizations started. So I guess we'll start with the Church of Satan. So the Church of Satan was actually started on April 30th, 1966, according to Wikipedia, by a man named Anton Szandor Levy. And you've no doubt seen images of the guy before, because anytime Satanism or satanic anything post the 1950s, it's usually the image of this particular guy. You could look at the Church of Satan as almost like the first of the modern churches of Satanism that existed in the relevant times. Because you could actually go back, even look at Aleister Crowley if you want to take a more specific look, because he actually looked at various different things in the occult and whatnot. On the other side of the spectrum, you have the Satanic Temple. The Satanic Temple was co-founded by Lucien Greaves and Malcolm Jerry in 2012. Now, I don't know if this is entirely true or not, and this is one of the reasons I wanted to come on camera and say this, because I read some conflicting reports that the Satanic Temple actually started as a joke between the two. And if that's true, it's kind of hilarious to see how far it's come. I know a lot of people look at that as more like a negative point, but it started off as a joke, and it's progressed to the point now where there's like, I would imagine, hundreds of thousands of members across the world that do this stuff, and they're looking at the point now where they're doing like lobbying and all sorts of different stuff. So I mean, for all you comedians out there that don't think you're going anywhere, keep at it. You could start your own fucking religion. And it's true, the Satanic Temple is primarily known for going up against different political as well as religious groups in an effort to keep free speech as well as like reproductive rights and different things like that in check. In fact, they oftentimes view themselves more as liberty-minded individuals rather than religious figures. By their own admission, they don't really believe in magic or any of that kind of shit. They believe in the idea of Satan and Satanism and all that stuff, more so than like the ritualistic practices. So it's like the mindset rather than the actual like Holy Ghost theological crap. So you have the Satanic Temple as well as the Church of Satan, and as of now they are the two biggest sects of modern Satanism, and that's kind of where the problems begin. Really, a lot of their major beef comes on like their political views, because the Satanic Temple is all about fighting the government and doing a lot of activist type stuff, whereas the Church of Satan is way on the other fucking side of that spectrum. And really, it's not just the Church of Satan that the Satanic Temple seems to have beef with, because the Temples of Satan, yeah, it took me like 50 tries to make sure I said Temples of Satan and Satanic Temple differently, because it kept fucking me up. And it just goes to show you that regardless of your religious faith or practices, there's gonna be like a million different fucking splinter groups of your religion. There's actually a pretty revealing quote from Cindy Fleming of the Temples of Satan that said basically that they are not Satanists. And really, the next quote actually is kind of eye-opening as to how the various different Satanist groups view the Satanic Temple. If they want to speak on behalf of a political agenda, they need to do it as the atheists that they are. They do not need to use a religion. They don't believe in anything, any religion. So why are they using a religion to do it? That is hypocritical. It's an oxymoron and it's not even credible. She goes on to say they cannot and nor do they speak on behalf of the rest of the satanic community that believe in the creator who we call Satan, the one that predates Christianity, the one who is in the first creation epic, who fought the dragon Tiamat for mankind. I don't claim to be religious or anything, but that sounds metal as fuck. One of the things I will give a lot of these various Satanist groups is the fact that most of their fighting is very passive-aggressive, and that can be bad in certain aspects. I personally don't enjoy passive-aggressive fighting. However, if you look at history in general, most religious infighting is not met with exactly the most passive of conflicts. So right now, you may be asking yourself, fuck, I really wish there was like a handy-dandy fucking guide that broke down exactly what the Church of Satan was all about, as well as the Satanic Temple, and made it extra cringe where at the top it said, Kids Quick Guide to Satanism or some shit like that. Well, thankfully, I don't have to make one because I found one that was provided, thankfully, by the Satanic Temple. And as you can see, the Satanic Temple has graciously been able to put a various checklist that we're going to go down and see what the various differences are and kind of comment on those. You're probably thinking to yourself, you can't possibly dedicate an entire video to going down a checklist and just commenting on them, right? So the first of the topics that they go over is the actual foundation, with the Satanic Temple being founded in 2013, while the Church of Satan was founded in 1966. This was something that we already went over, but for the sake of clarity, a lot of these different checklists, as you're gonna see, are kind of like, they could have easily been condensed into like one thing, or seem a bit like they're fluffing themselves. So for a couple of these, we'll kind of combine them into one thing and go over the topics. But, you know, we'll get to that when we get there. Right away, the Satanic Temple is clear to point out that the Church of Satan is not officially recognized as a tax-exempt church by the IRS. However, the Satanic Temple is. Which, hold on to that thought, because I'm going to touch on that a little bit more when we get to, like, the magic and, yeah, there's a magic section. When we talk about, like, the magic as well as, like, their belief in, like, gods and demons and shit like that. The next one is taken seriously by credible religious scholars as a manifestation of modern Satanism. Again, it's something we already covered, but I do find it kind of fascinating that in a matter of 54 years, I think it's been 54 years, in 54-ish years, just how radically different the world is between now and then. Because if you think back to, like, the 50s, and just how, like, oh, peachy keen it was back then and how it is now, like, it's literally night and day. So wherever you stand on the moralities of, like, believing in Satan, I don't give a fuck, obviously, you have to at least admit that it is very fascinating that as a society, you know, we like to look at things in such, like, a negative light, and I guess in some degree that is rightfully so. But just how much more open-minded we are that people look at this as a common everyday practice as opposed to being demonized in the past. And we come to our first two major controversial topics that we're going to touch on, and that being that neither one of the Satanic Temple or the Church of Satan actually believe in Satan, but the Church of Satan believes in magic, while the Satanic Temple does not. And yeah, this is true. If you look on Wikipedia, and I believe it actually says it on their main website as well, I'll put that up here just for, you know, the sake of clarity, that no, they don't believe in either the Christian version, Muslim version, or any version of Judeo-Christianity depictions of the devil. So I guess by that standard, they probably don't believe in God either. And I'm trying to remain as unbiased as possible because I have an entire rabbit hole of this satanic occult shit that I want to go through over the next couple of months. But I do kind of have to agree with the previous quote that we went over, that it is a bit hypocritical to have a religion that doesn't actually, like, believe in anything. Like, okay, I'm not a religious person by any stretch of the imagination. I'm agnostic, if anything. But I feel like if you're gonna have an organized religion, that there needs to be, you know, a god or something. Like, I thought that was kind of the thing. Maybe I'm just ignorant to the practices of various religions. I'm not a theologian by any stretch of the imagination, but I thought you kind of needed a deity to have a religion. I mean, that right there kind of brings into question the whole tax-exempt thing. Definitely correct me if I'm wrong here. If you're a religious group, that means that you're taken into a special consideration so that your faiths and beliefs aren't, like, trampled on by the US government. That falls under everything from Satanism to Jediism or whatever, you know, Buddhism, etc., etc. If you don't believe in a higher power, or the idea of Satanism is just a mindset, then how can you be a tax-exempt organization when you're in reality just kind of just an activist group? Like, okay, we can argue that a lot of the activism stuff that they are doing is good. Like, that's definitely something that you can argue in there. Then that means technically I could create my own religion that could become an activist group for fucking anything I want to and claim tax exemption, as long as that the ideas that I'm claiming have some sort of like supernatural foundation to it. I'll give the Church of Satan this. They at least fucking believe in magic, but it's also kind of hypocritical to call yourself the Church of Satan and you don't fucking believe in Satan. At least with the Satanic Temple, they're just called the Satanic Temple. You can argue that satanic is just a mindset. Whereas you call yourself the Church of Satan, the guy himself, or girl, whatever, you know. I'm not fucking biased here. So, well, what the fuck is it? Like, but I will give the Church of Satan this. They at least believe in fucking magic, whereas the Satanic Temple is more the mindset of the thing, right? So, in terms of theology, at least they fucking believe in magic and shit that could never fucking happen. You know, I just realized that I kind of just shit-talked both the Satanic Temple as well as the Church of Satan, and hot goth people are kind of like my thing. And because they're both religions, a lot of these people are going to take what I say very seriously, where I'm kind of just being a little tongue-in-cheek, but with a bit of a critical eye, of course. So my chance of ever getting with a hot goth person again is pretty much fucking gone. Probably should just fucking kill myself at this point, right? For the next one, we actually get some of the first shade that's really thrown at the Church of Satan by the Satanic Temple, and that's foundational texts. Whereas the Satanic Temple states that there is vast literary canon, while the Church of Satan states that it is based solely on the writings of Anton LaVey. Which is technically true, because the foundations of the Church of Satan is based on his writings primarily. But I do think it's kind of a cheap shot if this is the only thing you've seen, like, guide-wise, that you would look at this and go, oh, wow. You know, holy shit, there's a fuck ton of different things that I could read about this. Not that you're gonna fucking read them anyway, but holy fuck, there's shit ton that's like, oh, it's just one guy's opinion. Yeah, fuck that guy. You know, like, that's what I would think. And pretty much from here on out, we're gonna start to see, like, some of the big differences, and where you'll see with the Satanic Temple, like, they're very modern in the way that they fight and shit talk a lot of people. And you'll see why next. Next, they have their political views. The Satanic Temple, they state, quote, a non-theist movement aligned with liberty, equality, and rationalism. Lucien Greaves, TST co-founder. Whereas the Church of Satan, they're just like, quote unquote, just Ayn Rand's philosophy with ceremony and ritual added. Which is technically true, but it's kind of funny because they make the Satanic Temple seem way more dignified and more heroic and shit like that. And they're just like, oh, these fucking guys over here just, you know, they just do ceremonies and goats and shit. You know, it's like, okay. And then they go on further to state that Satanic Temple fights for both secularism as well as defends reproductive rights, whereas the Church of Satan does not. With the Church of Satan, they've gone on record in stating that they believe in, like, the exact opposite of any sort of political movement, so they don't do any sort of lobbying or any shit like that, and they prefer to remain more of like a decentralized network, I guess, even though they have like a Twitter page, so that doesn't fucking make any sense. But with the Satanic Temple, I feel like they could have just lumped this into one, and this is like an example of them utilizing extra space to try to fill up more check marks, which you can argue is kind of cheap, but at the same time, like, it gets the effect that it's supposed to get, because looking at this, if you were to just be like, oh, I'm decided between the Church of Satan and the Satanic Temple, which one am I going to go with? You know, the average person's going to look at this and go, oh shit, Satanic Temple has all these fucking check marks, over here they're X's, fuck these guys. And then the next three, again, could have probably been lumped together, but it has a physical headquarters, has local chapters, and is actively growing. Which, the last one's kind of funny, because it's like they're taking a major cheap shot at that, because for me, okay, statistics, if you watched my episode on, like, the chocolate diet scam, you'll know that statistics in and of themselves can be fucked around with depending on who is actually providing the experiment. So anytime you see statistics, I would look at what the p-values are, what the actual statistical data means. Had a brain fart right there. To say that they're not growing, I mean, like, it's possible that's true, but, like, I don't don't fucking know, and like, I doubt that they know for sure too. Again, it's more shocking because with the Satanic Temple, they are right. They are actively growing. Like, their community member base is fucking huge. Like, there are so many people that are in the Satanic Temple that it would actually blow your mind. If you've never heard about this topic before, you should actually look that up, because the amount of people that are in there, it's a fucking crazy amount. And I guess for good reason. A lot of people believe in what they think and say and shit like that. Hail Satan. Next, we have holds regular meetings and events, which the Satanic Temple boasts that they do, while the Church of Satan does not. Again, this kind of goes along with what I was saying earlier with the decentralized aspect of it. And that goes into the fact that I didn't really touch on, but those like having various chapters and stuff like that, where the Church of Satan seems to be more decentralized, whereas the Satanic Temple, again, they have the more activist kind of roots about them. But again, the Church of Satan, they have a fucking Twitter and they tweet all the time. There's actually a fucking article on there that I saw. I haven't read it, but I saw when I was doing research on this. I was like, how the Church of Satan won Twitter? And I'm like, did they really win Twitter? Like, how can a decentralized type of entity win Twitter if they don't have annual meetings and shit like this? So that means that it's just like one person doing it. But I'll touch on this in a bit more later. The next one is in the news talking about Satanism, and check mark for both of them. So, and that's fair at least. I'll give this particular checklist, you know, some credit where it's due, because they don't lie about anything that the Church of Satan is not. So they're not going out there saying like, oh, they believe God is the real one they're lying to. No, they're straight up. They look like they found their facts, and they're actually fact-checking as they go along. They kind of stack the deck in their favor to appeal to like the grassroots activist type of person. The next one is in the news for their activities, civil liberties campaign, litigation, public events. Big old check mark on Satanic Temple. And actually, if you look at it, it's like a bigger check mark than the other ones. Whereas the Church of Satan, it's an even bigger X that they don't do that shit. The next couple of ones, you can actually look in the same. It's socially and politically active. Check mark, whereas Church of Satan's not. The Church of Satan doesn't really get involved with any other fucking political dealings, whereas the Satanic Temple has gone on record in saying that they are actively fighting against various government movements. Actually, if you watch the documentary called Hail Satan, they talk a lot about how their primary mission is to go against a lot of like the evangelical right and stuff like that. So again, I don't care where your political side of the spectrum is. I don't give a shit either way. If you are into that sort of thing, those are the type of people that are into that. So they're very much against a lot of theological-based politicians. So the next one is accepts donations and membership fees, which we'll touch on membership fees in a second, but accepts donations. Of course they accept donations. How the fuck wouldn't they? They're a fucking religion. And now the next one's a bit misleading. It's membership fees, whereas the Satanic Temple, it's a circle with an X through it, but there's a $25 for a membership card, where the Church of Satan just straight up says $250. This is the only time in the checklist where, you know, okay, we've been having a bit of fun, you know, poking fun at the checklist, but this is the only time where I kind of have to call foul, because they don't specifically state what the $250 membership is. It's not to actually join the religion, it's to get like a fucking ruby platinum fucking card that says you're in there, which, I mean, again, it's your money, you're gonna spend it however you want to spend it anyway, so if that's what you want to spend your fucking money on, hey, good on you. Whereas the Satanic Temple, they're basically offering the same deal just for $25 instead of $250. So either way, I think that's kind of shady to charge for fucking membership cards, because you go to like almost any other religion, you don't have to pay fucking anything. Like, I could go down the street to like Pastor fucking Dave's Catholic thing and go and sit there. I mean, yeah, they're gonna be bugging the fuck out of me for donations, but I don't have to pay to get in there. You know, even like the Jehovah's Witnesses, you don't have to pay any fucking thing up front. They just ask for your soul in the long run. Continuing on, we have Baphomet Monument with a big old check mark and an X mark with the Church of Satan. So undoubtedly, you saw in the news how there was a state, I can't remember which one it is off the top of my head, but I'll put it up here, how the Satanic Temple was going to erect a Baphomet statue, and it was going to get placed in front of like a courthouse or something to that effect. It's kind of funny because it caused a shit ton of controversy where a lot of people don't know the actual truth, and I plan on doing a whole nother video about this in the future because it's like my giant satanic rabbit hole. I will say now, there's a common misconception that the Baphomet statue is still erected in front of, because it was in protest of like the 10 Commandments being outside of a courthouse, which I kind of disagree with as well too, because, you know, keep church and state separate. But again, these are politicians, you know, what rules apply to them are completely different what happens to the common folk. But it's a common misconception that the Baphomet statue is still just fucking chilling there, when in reality, no, it's not. But again, we'll cover that in a future video. So for all you fundamentalist Christians out there that watch my channel, which I doubt a lot of you are after my fucking fleshlight reaction video last week, you can sleep soundly that there's not a Baphomet statue hanging about 15 feet away from the 10 Commandments. The next one is after-school Satan clubs with a big check mark, whereas the Church of Satan does not have after-school. Again, this kind of comes down to personal preference. I don't think it's a big deal because then, you know, you're opening up people to various different religions and ideas and shit like that because, I don't know, fuck it. If you want to learn about Satan or join fucking Satanism or whatever, yeah, that's cool. Despite what your personal beliefs are on the Satanic Temple or the Temple of Satan, I don't think it's a bad thing to have various informational sources out there because we can all agree to disagree and we can debate on everything till we're blue in the face. But I think the limitation of information is a terrible, terrible thing. So, if anything, you know, I've been kind of hard on both of these religions because I don't fucking like religion, but at least they're open towards teaching people shit that you wouldn't normally be accustomed to learning. Then we go to a more of a direct attack towards the Church of Satan, whereas they state authoritarian, which, okay, I don't have to fucking pretend that's not a trigger word for thousands of people in modern day anyway. But they have an X on the Satanic Temple, whereas the Church of Satan, there's a big old check mark. It's actually a small one. I can't help but think that's a little cheap shoddy because they're basically arguing because there's like a fundamental hierarchy with the Church of Satan that makes it authoritarian, even though most of like their ideals are very similar. Now they're not the same. I don't want to say that because I've read some articles where they'll state, oh, they're very similar if they just combine. Like, nah, I think they're different enough when they can stand on their own. But the Church of Satan is more in line with the Satanic Temple than it is with a lot of like theological religions, primarily because it's more decentralized than other religions. But at the same time, it's called authoritarian, whereas the Satanic Temple has a hierarchy. I think is a bit hypocritical, but... And the next one is pretty funny because it's actually true. And not only the fact that it is true, but they actually cite a source on this. And it is believes men who prefer blue cheese dressing must be homosexually inclined because the odor is reminiscent of a locker full of well-worn jockstraps, which is an X on the Satanic Temple, whereas the Church of Satan has a check mark. I won't lie, I actually contemplated going out and getting like a big tub of blue cheese and holding it up and being like, oh fuck, but like, I don't really like blue cheese. I'm gonna be real with you. You know, I don't necessarily hide my sexual orientation, although I don't think I've ever said it on camera. So if you can guess it, hey, let me know in the comments below, and you might win a text from me. You know, all that creepy shit, right? Yeah, that's fucking stupid. That's really fucking stupid. If anything, just on that alone, I would probably lean more towards the Satanic Temple. Finally, and last but not least, we have the topic of a major documentary about modern Satanism being released by Magnolia Pictures in 2019, which is a checkmark on the Satanic Temple, whereas Church of Satan. Well, I don't like to give a lot of different movie reviews, because that's not what this is about, but you should go watch it if you're interested in the subject at all. It's actually a really good documentary. And it just goes to show you how popular the Satanic Temple is, because it's not a joke either. There are literally thousands and thousands of people spread across the entire world that are members of the Satanic Temple. Even here in Arizona, there's actually their own chapter here. So, you know, if anything, you can kind of see where the future of modern Satanism is going because of where the Satanic Temple has taken it. And this actually brings me to a great quote from a website called This actually leads me to a great quote from the reprobate. This actually leads me to a great quote by the reprobate. This actually brings me to a great quote by the reprobatepress.com. Reprobate. I have been trying to say reprobate for fucking... This brings me to reprobatepress.com. I've been trying to say reprobatepress.com, but for some reason my fucking brain doesn't want to do it, so a link in the description below, and a link, or the name of it right here. You can definitely go check the website out because it's great. It's actually ran by a gentleman, I believe, by the name of David Flint, which I have his book right here called Satan Superstar, which is a great book. You should buy it and read it. Very interesting if you're into like occult and other weird shit like I'm into. But anyway, I digress. The quote that they stated was, "There are other groups too, and only time will tell if any will last as long as the Church of Satan, and longevity is perhaps the ultimate arbiter of authenticity." And really, I can't agree more than that. You know, yeah, the Temple of Satan now is fucking huge, and the Church of Satan still has a lot of its own members, and there's other various sects of Satanism that we could be digging into. But really, yeah, like time is going to be the essence of all things, because I've read articles recently talking about how a lot of modern day activism is nothing more than just like a flash in the pan, and in the next like 10 years, we're going to be cycling back to a more conservative type of ideal. So, you know, anything's possible. We'll see what happens. And for now, I think this might be a good place to stop when it comes to the various different rabbit holes that is the religion of Satanism. Again, there's like a crap ton of information out there. We can discuss everything from the occult, demon possession, satanic cults, all sorts of shit when you get into like modern day Satanism, and even stuff prior to that too, which is actually pretty interesting. But I kind of wanted to touch on this feud because I thought it was kind of funny, and the reprobate press. I lost my chance with any and all Satanist type of people. Again, hot as fuck. And I can't say the goddamn word reprobate. Fuck. Reprobatepresscom. There we go. That was actually discussing the battle for modern Satanism, which I'll have that article linked below. And you should definitely go check that website out, because you're going to find a lot of interesting information when it comes to the weird, taboo, and eccentric shit that I'm into. So, what's your thought on the battle of modern-day Satanist supremacy? Are you more on the side of the Temple of Satan, or are you more on the side of the Church of Satan? Let me know in the comments below, and if you are members of the church, either of the churches, let me know in the comments below as well. I would love to have a discussion with you as to why you decided to follow either of the religions and what you believe is the true path of Satan. So we poked a bit of fun at both of the religions today, you know, I guess primarily at the Satanic Temple, but they're the ones that made the fucking checklist anyway, so you're gonna make something like that, you kind of have to be open to a little bit of scrutiny, and that's one of the things I will give the Satanic Temple, is the fact that they do actually go out and debate a lot of people all the time, so, you know, props to them. They can take criticism, and they can take it pretty well from what I understand. Looks like my little buddy is finally laid down and going to sleep. Tried so hard to make it to the end of this video. Anyway, I have both of their organizations linked below, so if you want to check them out and read up on them, they're going to be actively available for you. So make sure to keep things light and rebellious. I'll see you guys next time. Make sure to comment below for Gray if you want him to appear again, you know. He likes reading the comments about himself. Hail Satan.